Hello everyone, it's Theme Park Avenue, I'm Eric. In this video, we will be ranking every single ride at Cedar Point. Not just roller coasters, not just thrill rides, every ride. So what will not be included? Let's get that out of the way right now. No upcharge attractions such as Frontier Fling or SlingShot. Top Level Dragster and Wicked Twister will not be included. And things that are kind of listed as rides on the Wikipedia page, such as the one Forbidden Frontier play area, that aren't actually rides, will not be included. Now let's get right into the list. There are 66 total, and we got like 20-30 kiddie rides first, so let's kind of breeze through those. Number 66 is the Kiddie Kingdom Carousel. A fine kiddie carousel, not much else. Number 65 is Motorcycles. This one, like many other kiddie rides, is simple, unspectacular, doesn't really fit with any major theme. It just kind of spins around a little bit, looks a tad dated. Number 64 is Mustangs. Similar to Motorcycles, so it ranks very similarly. Number 63 is Police Cars. Police Cars is like the others that I just mentioned. Number 62 is Dune Buggies. There really are a lot of rides like this, aren't there? Well, you get the point. Number 61 is Snoopy's Express Railroad. A little more fun than the others, has a bit more fun theme to it, so it gets a bit of an edge. Number 60 is Peanuts Road Rally. Certainly a fun one for kids. It spins around a bit more, the car theme is fun, and has a bit more sense of speed because you're pretending to be in a racing car. Number 59 is the Peanuts 500, very similar. Number 58 is Snoopy's Space Race. This one looks weird, but it ranks a bit higher. Number 57 is the 4x4s. This one's a bit more aesthetically pleasing than some others that are kind of similar, so that's why I gave it an edge. Number 56 is Helicopters. This one I just feel has a bit more to it. The helicopter theme is more fun, so I guess it gets an edge there. Number 55 is Space Age. Not a whole lot to say about this one, honestly. It's just kind of there, so let's move on with that one. Number 54 is Red Baron. The theme elevates this one, and that's the main reason why it's a bit higher than other ones. Red Baron's a staple of Peanuts, so it gets that. Number 53 is Balloon Race. It's a fun little balloon theme ride, not much else to it. Number 52 is Flying Ace Balloon Race, very, very similar. Number 51 is Sky Fighters, kind of like Red Baron, so kind of in that same range. Number 50 is Roto Whip. Roto Whip is a different kind of ride, so I think it deserves some credit for that. I very much enjoy looking at it compared to a few of the other ones, because it kind of spins around more and it's a bit unique, but not as interesting as a few others. Number 49 is Rock Spin and Turn. This one's kind of like a tilt-a-whirl, sorta. It's more like a teacup ride, I guess. And I like those, so it gets a bit of higher ranking. Number 47 is Woodstock Express. This one's pretty fun. It's a bit of a mini drop tower. I like these, and I think kids like them overall more than they do some of the other rides that are below it. It's a bit more thrilling, and that's fun. Number 46 is Charlie Brown's Wind Up. This one has a bit more to it with the theme, so I like that, but there's really not a whole lot else to say about it. Number 45 is Snoopy's Deep Sea Divers. A fun submarine theme, spins around, very different type of axis, and I think the height, compared to some of the other rides, somewhat improves this experience for younger kids. Number 44 is Camp Bus. Very similar, pretty much the same as Snoopy's Deep Sea Divers, so they're right around the same place. Number 43 is Joe Cool's Dodgem School. This one I just feel is tiny bumper cars, and I like bumper cars, and I've been on this one when I was a kid. I've been on most of these actually, and I just think bumper cars are more fun than pretty much everything I've named so far, so it gets a higher ranking. Number 42 is the Kite Eating Tree. By far my favorite theme of any of the kiddie rides. It has the tree from Charlie Brown, a fun reference, and the idea of it being a drop tower is very clever. It just has a bit more of an aesthetic to it than pretty much all of the others, so I like that a lot. Number 41 is Linus's Beetlebugs. This one's a small tilt-a-whirl, and tilt-a-whirls rock, so it definitely had to get pretty decent ranking on this one. Alright, now we're at the top 40. Out of the kiddie rides besides roller coasters, and before we get to the top 40, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you know when new theme park content comes out, and also check out some of the hundreds of both serious and funny videos already on the channel. Number 40 is Wave Swinger. I don't like these rides, there's something weirdly painful about them. I think it's the way the seats are, very hard, poor arrangements. I don't know, I don't really like Wave Swingers that much. That's why it's the weakest of these somewhat major rides. Number 39 is Wilderness Run. A fun setting, cute little family kiddie coaster, but definitely the least thrilling of all roller coasters in the park. Number 38 is Ocean Motion. Pirate ships are fine, they're not spectacular, This one's definitely not spectacular, but I like it. Not a whole lot else to say about this one though. Number 37 is the Midway Carousel. Historic and iconic for sure, though carousels, because I do like thrills more than anything else in the park, this one is a bit underwhelming compared to a different ride I'm going to get to later. Number 36 is Crystal Rock Rafts. Barely a ride, but you take this sort of boat that's a bunch of logs you stand on, and you go across a small body of water in the Forbidden Frontier. It's not a major ride per se, but it's fun, and being surrounded by Millennium Force and all, that's a blast. Number 35 is Woodstock Express. One of the best Vekoma Jr. coasters. I think it has a pretty good sense of speed compared to some other kiddie coasters out there. The bell on the front is fun, and it's a very solid ride for the Camp Snoopy area. Definitely actually worth riding. Number 34 is Corkscrew. Corkscrew is one that some like now and some think is terrible. I'm in the middle. There are some painful moments, but I found that a ride in the front row, fairly recently, was not too bad. I think the airtime at one point is pretty strong, but the rest of the elements don't do a ton. So it's just kind of not great kind of ride, and a bit bumpy, so I don't like it that much, but I would rather ride it than some of the more lackluster rides such as the Way Swinger. Number 33 is Cadillac Cars. The other antique cars being gone is somewhat sad, but this one, it's fun. I like the way you go up a hill, the way you do kind of pilot it on your own, the way you're near Raptor is fun, and it's a very great ride for kids to enjoy. It's not a major thrill experience by any means, but it's one of the better family-oriented experiences in the park. Number 32 is Dodgem, a larger scale bumper car, so larger scale fun. Number 31 is the Giant Wheel. Ferris wheels I find fun for the view, mainly just admiring how high up you are, but certainly not a whole lot else to the experience. I definitely enjoy Giant Wheel. Being along the beach is excellent, and getting such a great view of the park certainly earns a higher ranking than it could have, but besides that, it is just a Ferris wheel. Not a whole lot else. Number 30 is Lake Erie Eagles. This is a fun flyer type ride, though I will say after experiencing the Knoebels flyers, yeah, this ranking may have dropped a little bit. It's fun, you still do get a good sense of flight, and you get to control it to an extent, but it's definitely not the greatest flyer attraction out there. Number 29 is Cedar Creek Mine Ride. This one, slightly janky, but beautiful setting, and a few pretty fun intense moments. I like the final theming moments, and it's a solid mine train overall. Number 28 is Monster. My biggest gripe with this one is the loading system. Because only part of the ride is at the ground at any point, they have to unload half and leave you hanging at the top. And it's not like a booster flat ride where you get a great view from the top. You're just kind of sitting above some concrete with the pipe screen view maybe. So it's not really a great experience. But the ride itself is a solid flat ride. Number 27 is the Sky Ride. Great views of Gatekeeper and Raptor, but it is so short. There are other Sky Rides out there that give you views of pretty much the entire park, and that's the kind I much prefer. Number 26 is Pipe Scream. Definitely higher than I'm sure some of you expected. Being higher than a few roller coasters might be a surprise. But this one I do enjoy. I like this kind of ride in general, and the way this one's arranged compared to some of the real disco models where you get spanked as you're kind of sitting in. This one's more fun. And I like the tiny bit of airtime you get over the hill each time, so it's a good ride. Number 25 is Super Himalaya. A fast-paced, somewhat unique flat ride, and by unique, I mean not really remotely unique, but I've only been on this one and maybe one other. So for me, it's a different experience, and maybe that's why it ranks a little higher. That said, I very much enjoy this one. Number 24 is Matterhorn. In my opinion, a very similar experience, but I like it quite a lot. It's fast, it's thrilling, and it's a very solid flat ride overall. Number 23 is Tiki Twirl. Tiki Twirl has a very nice aesthetic, which helps quite a bit, and the spinning on some different axes is very fun. There's not too much else to say about this one though, it's just a tiny step up from Matterhorn. Number 22 is Iron Dragon. Iron Dragon is no doubt a fun roller coaster. It has its thrilling moments, the swinging is strong, the terrain is beautiful, but it is definitely more family coaster than a few others that are above it, and there are some flat rides I definitely would prefer. For example, number 21 is Scrambler. I'm a huge sucker for Scramblers, and I'm not sure why more people aren't, but there's something about the part where it stops for a moment and you're just kind of facing a person who's by the gate, and then you get pulled back really quickly. I love that. Scramblers are fun, and Cedar Point is no exception. Number 20 is Troika. Troika might have a bit of the issue I was kind of talking about earlier, as it's not really a spectacular view, even though you're in the air, but I think it's one of the most thrilling flat rides in the park, and it's definitely a great one. But there isn't as much to say about it, as it's a little less memorable than the next one. Number 19 is Windseeker. Windseeker is a blast. Being right along the water, getting a view of the full park, when it's windy is pretty scary. Spinning around at a pretty high speed, being 300 something feet in the air, it's an absolutely spectacular experience. I think in terms of flat rides in the park, it is one of the very, very best. Number 18 is Cedar Downs Racing Derby. This is by far my favorite carousel, and it's kind of the reason why Midway Carousel is a little bit in comparison. This one is thrilling. The way it moves far more forward and backward than most carousels makes it feel like an actual horse race. The theme works incredibly well. The fact that the stuff spinning is beneath you just makes it seem like there's nothing above you restricting your movement. And the theme is just so fun. I name my horse Millennium Force every time, as I mentioned in one video a little while back. It's just an absolute blast. And I have to ride it every time I go to the park. Number 17 is Snake River Falls. A fun water ride. I like getting splashed in some cases. However, this kind of water ride is my least favorite because it's really short and doesn't have a ton to it. It looks nice and the splash is fun, but I prefer longer, full layout type ones that take a longer time overall. Number 16 is Blue Streak. A pretty rough ride, but some pretty strong airtime as well. I like that. It has a shocking sense of speed, and I dare say this is the scariest ride in the park because of the way it really throws you around in a somewhat painful way. But I feel the pain is more than made up for with the fun airtime, speed, and charming experience. Number 15 is Power Tower. This is without a doubt the best S&S drop tower I've been on. They aren't typically that great, but this one's drop actually has quite a bit to it. It packs a punch. The launch upward is a bit underwhelming if you do that side of the tower, but pretty much no matter where you sit, one that you can count on is the view being spectacular. Number 14 is the Cedar Point and Lake Erie Railroad. I love train rides in parks, and this one is still great. It's not the best of the best, but Boneville is a very fun little experience. The way this kind of works with Snake River Expedition and Cedar Creek Mine right now is fun, and going along Millennium Force and Maverick makes for some excellent photo opportunities. So this train ride is honestly, in my opinion, a must in the park. Number 13 is Gemini. One I hear a lot of people putting much higher in recent years, but I still think it's just a great family coaster. It has some airtime, I guess, a good sense of speed, and the turnarounds are there, not necessarily fast or great, but what really saves this ride and makes it a fun experience is the racing elements. The fact that you can high-five people, illegally that is, but we do it anyway, right? You can do that while you're going on the turnarounds, and you can race the other person. I win nearly every time. That's fun. And racing adds a lot to this one. Otherwise, outside of the finale, there isn't that much thrill to it. Number 12 is Rougarou. One that improves for me basically every time I ride it. I know a lot of people really hate this one, but while I used to agree, I now think the first half is stellar. The first drop, vertical loop, and dive loop have a great sense of speed and are super intense. After that, things get janky, but the elements aren't bad. They just don't work that great with the floorless coaster compared to the stand-up coaster model it used to be. And I will say right now, Mantis was better, and if Mantis were still around, I think it would probably be easily top 10, maybe closer to top 7. Number 11 is Thunder Canyon. I like river rapids. They're probably my favorite type of water ride in most cases, and this one's rock work is nice, works well, and lends itself to great frontier theming. And while you don't get super wet on this one compared to some others, it's fun. And I would take it over some of the other very good but not necessarily great roller coasters because it's a great fun water ride. Number 10 is maXair. I hear people trashing on the Huss Frisbee rides compared to the Zamperla Giga Discoveries, but I don't get it. maXair is better than most of those in my opinion. It has a better sense of speed, you get lifted out of your seat a lot more, and it feels like you're facing the ground in a way it doesn't on most of the Giga Discoveries. So I enjoy it a lot, and I would say it is the second best flat ride in the park. Number 9 is Magnum XL-200. One I really do want to put higher, I really do. But it's inconsistent. Some rides I've had are very fun. Not painless, but fun. You get thrown out of your seat, and the first drop is always enjoyable, and the speed coming back is excellent. The big issue I have is that in many cases, every trough and peak in a hill is insanely bumpy, and it's quite a painful experience. And I think based on those rides alone, this could have ranked pretty much right where Corkscrew is. That said, the best rides are a bit higher on this list than they would be right now, and that kind of saves it. That said, no matter where you sit, I do not like the turnaround. Number 8 is Skyhawk. Skyhawk is an excellent SNS scream and swing, fun, great sense of speed, everything maXair is, but in a nicer location in my opinion, and it has a stronger sense of getting pushed back into your seat with wind in your face. So I enjoy Skyhawk a lot, and I'm very happy that a similar ride is coming to my home park, Busch Gardens, Tampa. Number 7 is Snake River Expedition, the highest of the non-roller coasters. No one really talks about this one, and yeah, I get the effects are cheap and all, but it's a blast. I love this ride. I like the theme, the hue and pre-show are done well, and some of the effects are actually pretty solid. The snake looks imposing and fun, and I like the animatronics even if their movement is limited. If your skipper is fun and into it, the jokes really land, and it's absolutely enjoyable. If your skipper isn't that into it, you know, it's kind of like Jungle Cruise. If they're not into it, you're not going to enjoy it as much. That said, I like this more than Jungle Cruise because the overarching story is definitely more interesting, and going around beautiful roller coasters speaks to me a lot. Number 6 is Valravn. The jump from 7 to 6 is pretty massive actually. Valravn is a phenomenal ride. It's my second favorite of 2 dive coasters, but don't let that discourage you. The vest restraints don't bother me, the first drop is one of the best in the park, the inversions all land, the airtime is strong, and especially the 270-degree roll, that's a phenomenal final major element besides the airtime hill. And my only gripe is how harsh the brake runs are. If not for that, this would easily be top 5. But starting off at top 5, number 5 is Raptor. A strong B&M invert, great intensity, though I feel not as intense as the last time I had remembered, but that helix still almost gets me to gray out each time. I love it, every element's great, it's not a rough ride, and it's an enjoyable invert overall. Not best of the best, but certainly solid and a great ride overall. Number 4 is Gatekeeper, a massively underrated experience. The ride looks beautiful, and when you're in that wing kind of position, your feet are dangling, and once you get to the drop, it's an unforgettable sensation. The dive loop, excellent. The airtime, stronger than you'd expect. The near miss elements, super fun. The ride is graceful, but still has a good sense of speed. It's like a B&M flying coaster. It's like a bit of a lesser Tatsu, but not that much less compared to Tatsu than it would be for most. I love Gatekeeper, and I'd say it is one of the most overhated and underrated rides, period. Number 3 is Maverick. Another pretty large jump because Maverick is my number 11 roller coaster overall. I think it is one of the best launch coasters, and the main thing that stands out is just how perfect the layout is. From the gut-wrenching first drop, to the inversions, to the harsh turns, to the magnificent tunnel launch, to the stangle dives, the nice theming adds to it, and I think there's just so much to love on it. A night ride is unbeatable on this, except for the Beast at Kings Island, and it's definitely a top tier ride. It's one of the best roller coasters out there, and if you missed it on your trip to Cedar Point, I feel very sorry for you, and I hope you get a chance to ride it, because it is phenomenal. Number 2 is Millennium Force, another mega underrated roller coaster. This is actually, surprisingly, my number 4 roller coaster I've ever been on. I think it just speaks to me. It's fun. There's nothing else I need to say. The first drop is the best, the view from the lift hill, unmatched. The main overbank turns, great. The turn afterwards into the tunnel, one of the most sustained, intense moments I've ever felt, and it's the closest I've come to graying out on a roller coaster. The airtime, strong, especially the final speed hill. The experience feels long, feels unique, and it's like an adventure going around different parts of the park. Kind of like the masterpiece that is Superman the Ride at Six Flags New England. Millennium Force is my favorite Intamin, and as controversial as that is, I stand by it. and I love it with every bit of my roller coaster enthusiast mind. But number 1 had to be Steel Vengeance. Yeah, I know, overrated, boo, number 16 in the park, all that. Well, I still think, through it all, this ride deserves most of its hype. I will admit, the pacing is not as good as I thought it once was, but the airtime is still unmatched. Airtime is my favorite sensation, and everything from the opening hills in the pre-section to the first drop to the unbeatable outer bank curve, the inversions are still strong, the way it weaves through the structure is great, the finale is brutal in the best possible way, and the only real flaw with it is the restraints. The shin guards are a bit annoying, but with a ride like that, they're necessary, and I don't mind too much. This is my number 2 roller coaster in the world, and for good reason. It is definitely my top ride at Cedar Point. Thank you for watching and going through all 66 rides at the park with me. Subscribe for more theme park content, and give your list if you're willing to in the comments below. I'll see you next time.